So this is chapter 2I on ratio and proportion problems. In this chapter, we apply finally all the concepts of ratio and proportion into a word situation. So you will become aware of the difference between a ratio and proportion to solve a problem. Find the whole numbers, find the whole amounts given in a percentage, and find the percentage change of a quantity. So in the first skill, a ratio versus a proportion. Now, just as a reminder, a ratio has a part-to-part relationship, and a proportion is like a fraction, it's a part-to-whole. And if you cannot remember ratio versus proportion, it's recommended that you review the earlier chapters from chapter 2. An alloy is made from copper and iron in the ratio of 2 to 3. So already it says ratio of 2 to 3. What proportion? So you have to read these word problems carefully. What proportion of the alloy is iron? So it's asking you for a part-to-whole relationship, given that you know a part-to-part. So if you know what to do, pause, give it a try. If not, pause anyway and give it a try. Oh, right, here we go. So we know our ratio is 2 to 3, and because we say the words copper and iron in the ratio 2 to 3, we know that the first number represents copper because you always say the words in the order of the ratio. So we know that 2 parts is copper, 2 parts is iron. So all together, we have 5 parts in total. So now that we know what the total is, we can now write the proportion of the alloy, which is iron. So if the whole is 5, then the part that is iron is 3. So it's 3/5, or 60%. Because proportion can be a fraction, a percent, or decimal. Skill 2, find the whole amount given a percent. So in each of these examples, calculate the whole amount. So 10% of a quantity is 50. So we know 10% of a quantity is 50. So we're saying that 10% is equal to 50 kilograms. So if we think about that, that means 20% has to be 100 kilograms. So if we keep going in this way, then we'll know that eventually that 100% has to be 500 kilograms. So that's one way to keep doing that you just keep counting by tens to get there. Another way you can do this is if we know 10% is 50, and we want to know the whole amount. A whole amount, remember, is 100%. Okay, whole amount is 100%. So then we can say, well, 10 to 100%, I multiply that by 10. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 50 by 10 as well. And that will give me 500 kilograms also. So at this time, go ahead and pause and complete B and C. So let's work out B and C. 30% of a quantity is 60 pounds. So 30% is 60 pounds. Okay, so you can choose to work it out and keep counting, but eventually you'll hit 90%, then you can't go any further. Another way you can do this is break it apart. Maybe I can say 10% simply by dividing by 3, which means I can do 60 divided by 3, which gives me 20. So if 10% is 20, that means 100%, if I multiply by 10, will give me 200. That's one way to do it. And then for the final one, I'm going to go ahead and show a cross-multiplication method. 25% of a quantity is 12. So if we know the part to the whole, and we want to know for both, so we know that 25% is the part of a whole, which is 100%. So automatically out of a percentage, we always put 100 underneath. of a quantity is 12. But do we know the whole quantity? No, we don't. So the 12, which is the part, goes above, and the part we don't know goes underneath. Now, to find the missing amount, all we have to do is cross multiply. When we cross multiply, we multiply the two numbers that we know diagonally. So this makes 100 times 12, which makes 1200. And then you divide by the remaining number. So 1,200 divided by 25, which then turns out to be 48. And let's see, does that make sense? Well, 25 out of 100, technically that is 1/4. 1/4 is 12. So 2/4 should be 24. 3/4 would be 36. Therefore, 4/4, which is a whole, should be 48. So that's another way to think about it. When it comes to ratio and proportion problems, there's no real one right way. It depends on what makes sense to you. And finally, the last skill, finding percentage and quantity change. So in example A, the price of a shirt is 20 pounds. In a sale, the price is reduced to 14. What is the price reduction? So in this case, we want to figure out how much was actually reduced in by percentage. So we know that the shirt was originally at 20 and it was reduced down to 14. So we actually did not have to pay 6 pounds. So what percent is this? So what you could do here is you could figure out, well, if 6 is what I don't have to pay and 20 is the whole amount, let's figure out what this is as a percentage. So if we work out 6/20ths as a percentage, we'll find out that this equals 30%. So you actually had a 30% reduction from the original price. Now in question B, you're selling candy bars. You bought each one at 150 francs. You're selling it for 2 francs. What is the price percentage increase in the value of one candy bar? So you're making profit, but you have to figure out what is your percentage increase. And then in C, you purchased a shirt on sale for 5 francs. It was 20% reduced from the original price. So that shirt that is 5 francs was already reduced from the original price by 20%. What was the original price? So at this time, go ahead and pause and try to work these out in whatever natural way makes sense to you. Let's work these out. You're selling candy bars. You bought each one at 1 franc 50. You're selling it at 2 francs. What is the percentage increase in the value of one candy bar? So again, we go into that part to the whole. Now, the whole in this case was actually 150 because that's what you paid for. But you're now actually selling it at 2 francs, right? And in regards to percentage, the whole is always 100%. So now we don't know what this new percentage is. So using any method, you would work out this. So in this case, I will use cross multiplication. So 2 times 100% will give me 200. I will divide by the remaining number, which ends up giving me 133.3%. Now, what this tells me is my percentage went from 100 to 133. So this right here, 33%, that is my percentage increase. So 33.3% is my percentage increase. You purchased a shirt on sale for 5 francs. It was 20% reduced from the original price. What is the original price? So again, we find out that the 5 francs was what you paid, right? So this 5 francs actually represents 80% of the original price, which was at 100%. But we don't know what this original price is. And the reason why it's 80% is because this is a result of being 20% reduced. So if something's 20% reduced, that means you are paying 80% of the original price. So let's work it out. 5 times 100 gives 500. Divide by the remaining number of 80, and you figure out that the original price was £6.25. And if you really want to double check, you can work it out. 5 divided by 6.25 will give you 80%, which represents what you paid. That's all.